These people have stumbled upon things they never could have imagined. Creatures, figures, and sights so bizarre that even experts were left speechless. So tag along for the wildest discoveries ever caught on camera that shocked everyone. A group of friends went camping to relax and enjoy the woods. While walking, they noticed a figure standing between the trees. At first, it looked like an animal, maybe even a gorilla. Curious, they walked closer, but as they moved in, the figure stood up tall. Far too tall for it to be any animal. That was when they realized it might be a Bigfoot stalking them, so they didn't stay and went back straight to the car. Everyone was fine, but that peaceful camping trip turned into something they would never forget. Prehistoric shell. Finding something ancient by accident always makes for a wild story. A farmer in Buenos Aires had a Christmas day to remember when he stumbled across something huge buried by the river. While walking near his land, he saw a strange round shape sticking out of the mud. Curious, he started digging and uncovered a massive, perfectly shaped shell. At first, he thought it might be a dinosaur egg, but experts later confirmed it was the fossilized shell of a glyptodont, an ancient, giant creature like an armadillo. These creatures lived about 10,000 years ago, and their shells could weigh close to a ton. The find was remarkable, and it looks like Jose may have uncovered a real piece of history. Feral wild man. Feral wild men always sound like stories from movies, but this one felt all too real. A man was out walking in the woods, just enjoying some peace and quiet, when he saw something strange. Far ahead, a person stood still, just staring at him. The figure looked wild, dirty hair, rough clothes, like he had been living in the forest. Before the man could even move, the wild-looking guy suddenly started running toward him, and it didn't look friendly. The man panicked and ran as fast as he could. He didn't stop until he was far away. He still isn't sure what that was, but yeah, he's definitely not going back there. World War II soldier. While scanning the ground with his metal detector, a man picked up an unusual signal and decided to dig. What he found was more than just metal. It was a worn-out war helmet, marked with scratches and pierced by a single bullet hole. Experts believe the helmet dates back to World War II, based on its shape and condition. Though no one knows who it belonged to, the damage and wear hinted at a past filled with chaos and survival. It might have once sat on a soldier's head in the middle of a battlefield, which made this discovery even more special. Alien creature.
I've stumbled across something weird. This is like one of those things you see when people claim that they found aliens.
Strange creatures wash up on beaches all the time. A man walking along a beach in Australia found a creature washed ashore. It had 4 legs, a long tail, and a head that looked strangely like a dog's. The man took pictures and shared them online, and soon people were guessing what it could be. Some thought it might be a rare marine animal, while others joked it could be an alien. Experts believe it could be a deformed version of a known animal, like a possum or kangaroo. Whatever it was, it definitely made people stop and take notice.
Look at it.
How weird is that?
Diver's extraordinary discovery.
A diver finds a GoPro camera at the bottom of a lake. He soon learned the images were the final moments of a young man lost far too soon.
In this case, a diver found a GoPro sitting at the bottom of a lake. It had been underwater for 2 years, but somehow the memory card still worked. When he watched the videos, he saw a young man's final day, full of joy and adventure. The clips showed him ziplining, laughing, and swimming near a beautiful waterfall just a couple of hours from Nashville. Even though the camera had been lost, it held on to something special. Those happy, carefree moments were shared with a man's family and became a touching way to remember who he truly was.
I'd been given a tip by a state park ranger that if I found a GoPro of an African-American male from 2017, that there was a chance that it would be the guy who drowned.
Caver's discovery.
Dude, look behind you. There's like a little shrine of them.
A man once drove up a mountain to check out a hidden cave on his land. It looked more like a deep pit, quiet, cold, and hard to notice. While exploring inside, he found something strange. Human bones. They looked really old, maybe sitting there for years. No one knew how the bones got there or who they belonged to. The find was surprising and made the owner feel uneasy.
That doesn't necessarily make, I don't know. I'm not a bone expert.
Discoveries like this don't happen every day, especially on private land. Authorities plan to look into it. Who knew a simple cave could hold such a piece of forgotten history? Bizarre find. In Arizona, a diver went exploring underwater and spotted something unusual. It wasn't trash or rocks. It was the body of a strange-looking animal. The creature had old features and looked almost like a fossil. Even after all that time underwater, its body stayed in pretty good shape. It didn't match anything common people usually see in lakes. Some thought it might be from a species that's already gone. The diver was definitely surprised. Werewolf neighbor.
It looked like a bear. Trust me, there's no bears in this neighborhood.
Werewolves may just be legends, but backyard cameras don't lie. And lately, they've been catching all kinds of strange things at night. A Ring camera outside a quiet home recorded something moving through the bushes after dark. The footage wasn't very clear, but the animal's shape stood out. It looked a lot like a bear, especially the round face and slow movements.
We saw something very strange.
It was weird.
It wasn't so clear.
Still, since the video was blurry, no one could say for sure. The animal didn't come close, just stayed near the plants and moved carefully, like it was just passing by. Some people thought it was a bear, others weren't sure. Either way, it gave the neighborhood something fun to talk about. Giant skeleton.
It actually looks pretty cool.
In southern Thailand, inside a very old cave, people found a giant skeleton that didn't look like it belonged to a regular human. The body was huge, with bones that looked human, but way bigger than normal. What made the find even more unusual was a second-long skeleton, almost like a giant spine or snake, wrapped around the bigger one. It looked like it was either protecting it or fighting it.
There's our giant human being.
The skull and limbs were shaped differently too. Experts said the bones were really old and needed more study. Stuff like this keeps history way more exciting. Fisherman found. Survival stories always grab attention, and this one is no exception.
Hi, sir. Do you speak English? Yeah.
A man and his dog spent 3 months stranded in the Pacific after a storm damaged their boat during a trip. They had no power, no supplies, and no way to call for help. With no choice but to survive, the man caught raw fish and collected rainwater for drinking. Despite the tough conditions, both the man and his dog made it through.
Where are you from? I'm from Australia. Yeah. Do you have the date of your departure?
I departed Mexico.
Where from Mexico?
La Paz.
La Paz?
And when rescuers found them, they were weak but still in good spirits. The bond between the two helped them pull through, proof of how powerful determination and companionship can be. Strange structure. Have you ever looked at Google Earth and spotted something that made you wonder what it was? That's exactly what happened when someone saw a strange structure on top of a remote mountain in Sri Lanka. Intrigued, he decided to go see it for himself. The journey was tough. He trekked through thick jungle and even met some friendly locals in a small village nearby. After resting, he continued up the mountain, and the hike got steeper and harder. But the view and the mystery kept him going. When he finally reached the top, the structure was as bizarre in person as it looked from above. Shocking discovery. Fort Lauderdale Beach in Florida had to be evacuated over the weekend when people noticed strange black, sticky balls washing up on the shore. These tar-like blobs raised concerns, and swimmers were quickly asked to leave the water.
Security pulled people out of the water, and initially we thought it was like sharks or something in the water, but we asked around and security said it was a possible oil slick that they were investigating.
It all started around 9 a.m. on Saturday when a beachgoer reported the strange substance to Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue. One visitor, Benjamin, recalled noticing dark spots stuck to the bottom of his feet after walking on the sand.
A man walking on the sand near Las Olas Boulevard called 911 around 9 a.m. yesterday. The man saw oil on his foot. Later, authorities closed several parts of the beach to swimmers, but no swimming flags did not stop everyone.
We didn't know what it was at first, he said. Authorities are still investigating the source of the substance and whether it poses any danger. Environmental teams are working to clean up and test the material. Missing hiker. Hiking can be an exciting way to connect with nature, but it can also turn dangerous in an instant. In 2013, a woman went off the trail while hiking the Appalachian Trail in Maine to find a bathroom, but she ended up getting lost. Search teams searched for nearly 2 years, and Animal Planet was filming nearby when the police finally found her remains.
There's nobody else that wanted to bring her home more than we did.
The medical examiner said she survived for about 26 days before passing away from hunger. She left notes and tried everything she could to be found. Her story is a powerful reminder of how easy it is to get lost, even if you're experienced. Always stay cautious while hiking. Creepy man.
It's that scary to think that somebody would be that intrusive into somebody's home. In my humble opinion, he was waiting for the creep show.
This family had the most strange encounter inside their home. At first, they began hearing strange sounds above their bedroom, so they set up a camera. At first night, the husband noticed a light coming through a ceiling pipe. Curious, he checks the attic and found a man crawling around with a power drill right above where the family sleeps.
For all these years, we have no idea what's been going on inside our own home.
The family immediately called the police and the man was arrested. The family later found a replaceable wall through which the creep entered their house. Thankfully, he couldn't cause any damage, but the whole thing leaves the family shocked. I mean, who expects someone with a drill to be living above your head? Mysterious blobs. Blobs are weird little things, soft, squishy, and often hard to figure out. You don't see them every day, which is probably why this one got so much attention. During a regular water check at Nighthawk Bay, a strange jelly-like creature was found by a team member. It moved slowly in their hand and felt super soft, almost like jelly. Its odd look was nothing like the usual sea life around Texas, which got people talking. It looked like a blob from a sci-fi cartoon, and nobody expected it to just show up like that. The whole thing turned into a fun little mystery on the beach. Curious creature. A homeowner recently found a strange creature swirling around their doorbell, and it wasn't just the creature itself that caught attention. It was surrounded by a thick, slimy substance. The creature seemed to be using the goo to cling to the doorbell, moving in a way that made it clear the slime was key to its stay. Curious neighbors quickly spread the word, and everyone was left guessing. Was it a rare bug? Or maybe something entirely new. Whatever it was, the sight left everyone amazed. Mysterious finding. While on patrol in the streets of Italy, the police came across an odd creature. It had a strange appearance and seemed to be folded up, trying to unfold itself and stand, but it struggled to manage. The officers were surprised, unsure of what they were seeing or what to do next. It looked like it was trying to move, but its body seemed too stiff to get up properly. The police acted quickly to make sure the creature was safe. Emerging from depth. Slugs usually don't grab much attention, but this one did. A black slug came crawling out of the thick sludge and totally stole the show. It looked like it just popped out of nowhere, and for a second, people didn't know what to make of it. With its shiny, dark body sliding across the muddy ground, it definitely stood out. No one could tell where it had been hiding or what made it show up now, but just like that, this little creature became a local star. Honestly, it's funny how even something slimy and slow can become the highlight of the day. River mystery. A strange, thick, black tentacle-like object was spotted near the rocks along the ocean. It stretched out of the water, catching the attention of nearby beachgoers. One man, curious about the odd sight, even tried to touch it. It wasn't long before experts identified it as WWII antarctica, or southern bull kelp. This species of seaweed is found in cold, nutrient-rich waters of the southern hemisphere, including South America, New Zealand, and sub-Antarctic islands. Known for its dense underwater forests, it plays an important role in the marine ecosystem and is also harvested for its nutritional value. Unsettling discovery. On a quiet beach, a dark creature half buried in the sand caught people's attention. It didn't look like anything you'd typically find near the water. Not a crab, not a fish, just something mysterious and out of place. Its body was dark and oddly shaped, making it tough to identify. Some even thought it didn't have a clear head or tail, which only added to the confusion. Mutant creature. Lobsters are a prized catch, known for their rich flavor and expensive price tag. But sometimes, they can be a bit strange, like the one spotted recently in Florida. A species not known for being particularly pretty, but this one looked different. Spiny lobsters shed their shells in a process called molting, which helps them grow. Several things affect when and how they molt, like food availability, water temperature, and even the presence of other lobsters. This one caught everyone's attention because of its unusual features, leaving experts wondering if it was related to molting or something else. It's just a reminder of how weird and wonderful marine life can be. Bigfoot throwing rock. Trail cameras are usually set up to catch wildlife, but one camera in the woods caught something way more interesting. The footage showed a large, human-like figure. Many believe it could be Bigfoot. In the video, the creature spots a skunk and suddenly picks up a rock, throwing it right at the animal. The figure looked huge, with long arms and walking upright, much bigger than any animal. The skunk quickly ran off, but the camera captured the whole moment. While some think it's a prank or shadow, others are convinced it's real. It's definitely one of the weirdest things to show up on a trail cam. Mysterious balls.
9 beaches in Sydney's north are closed tonight, with more mysterious ball-shaped debris washing up.
Along Sydney's northern beaches, 9 popular swimming spots were shut down when strange, round objects washed up. These things didn't look like anything people had seen before, not like rocks or jellyfish, just smooth, puzzling balls scattered across the sand. Authorities weren't sure what the objects were, so they closed the beaches to be safe. Swimmers stayed out, and everyone waited to hear more. Nature always knows how to shake things up. Alien limb spotted. A man recently noticed something odd. A mysterious limb sticking out of a hole in his wall. Curious, he decided to try an experiment by placing some food near the hole. To his surprise, a pair of hands suddenly emerged, reaching out and grabbing the food. These weren't normal hands. They were strange and almost alien, with long, unusual fingers. The man, both shocked and intrigued, held on to the food, not letting go. I mean, who would have expected something like this behind a wall? Unsolved mystery. There was thick, black goo stuck on a door, and it wasn't just sitting there. It looked shiny and wet, kind of like melted plastic or thick slime, and it was slowly sliding down in long, stretchy lines. But here's what really caught your eye. Inside the goo, there was a creature. It had 6 legs, like a bug or a spider, and it looked totally stuck. You could clearly see its shape, the legs, the body, all tangled up like it walked into the sticky mess and couldn't get out. It was creepy, but also super interesting. Search for artifacts. Hurricanes often change the shape of a coastline, and sometimes they uncover things long hidden under the sand. After a recent storm hit Florida's Treasure Coast, treasure hunters rushed to the beach. The strong winds and waves had shifted the sand, revealing pieces of history that had been buried for years. By Friday, people were already searching the shore, hoping to find something valuable. This beach had a long history of surprising finds, especially after big storms. That day, shiny bits from the past started to appear, and excitement filled the air. It felt like the beach was telling old stories again. And honestly, who wouldn't want to find a little treasure? Demonic temple. People have believed in demons, spirits, and powerful forces for centuries, and sometimes old ruins remind us just how far those beliefs went. In Peru, archaeologists found an ancient temple that had everyone talking. It was likely hundreds of years old and hidden beneath layers of time. But the real surprise? Human bones with red paint still on them. The color was bright enough to see even now, which made the whole place feel a bit intense. Experts thought the temple might have been used for ceremonies, maybe to honor spirits or carry out rituals. Whatever the case, the discovery opened a fascinating window into ancient traditions. History never stays quiet for long. Construction workers' discovery.
But we begin with a mystery unfolding tonight after human remains are found beneath an old sidewalk in downtown Detroit.
Construction work usually brings dust, noise, and old pipes. But this one brought something else. While digging up a sidewalk in Detroit, workers found human bones buried under the concrete. They were just doing routine work when part of the skeleton popped up. The bones belonged to a person, but the skeleton had some parts of it missing. What made it stranger was that the spot wasn't a known burial site. Police paused the project and brought in experts to check it out. No one's sure how the bones ended up there, but it's a good reminder that cities always have layers of history hidden just below the surface. 19th century casket. Caskets usually hold memories from the past, but this one had been hidden under a San Francisco home for over 100 years. Workers doing renovations found a small glass coffin buried beneath the house. Inside it was the preserved body of a girl who had passed away in 1878 at just 2 years old. Her tiny form remained untouched by time, sealed away in silence. Experts later used DNA tests and old records to trace her back to a local family from the 1800s. Turns out, she was left behind when a cemetery was moved years ago. After so long in the dark, she was finally laid to rest again, this time with her name remembered. Roman house remains. Ancient discoveries always brought a little thrill, especially in cities full of history like Izmir. While exploring narrow streets in this Turkish city by the Aegean Sea, a team found a hole in the ground and climbed down into something amazing, an ancient Roman house. It was about 1,700 years old and once belonged to a wealthy family. Inside, they saw a fancy fluted column and a detailed mosaic floor. It showed how beautiful and grand Roman homes could be. Izmir is now known for finds like this, with layers of history hiding underground. Bizarre discovery. Bones always tell a story, even if we don't know what it is right away. At a construction site in Hastings, workers got a big surprise when they found bones buried underground. No one knew what kind of bones they were. Maybe from an animal, or maybe something else. The bones looked pretty old and were found deep in the soil, which made everyone feel a bit uneasy. Experts were called in to study them and figure out how long they had been there. Until then, the area stayed blocked off. Mysterious remains. Exploring caves in Idaho can sometimes lead to surprising finds. And in 1979, a family stumbled upon something shocking: human remains. Deep inside a cave, they found a man's torso, and years later, in 1991, more of the same person's remains were discovered. For years, no one knew who he was. Finally, the remains were linked to Joseph Henry Loveless, a notorious outlaw from the late 1800s. Loveless had a history of crime, including fleeing from the law and being accused of killing his wife. It's believed that the cave became his final hiding place, and someone may have taken justice into their own hands. It's a story that connects crime, mystery, and the quiet Idaho landscape. Strange guest.
I am literally freaking out right now. I have no idea how this possum got in my house.
Christmas trees always bring surprises. Lights, ornaments, gifts, and sometimes wild animals. One woman got a shock when she spotted something moving in her tree. At first, she thought it was just a decoration that had slipped, but when she looked closer, she found a real opossum calmly sitting between the ornaments. Somehow, it had sneaked into the house and picked the coziest spot to nap, right in the Christmas tree. It didn't panic or try to run. It just chilled there like it belonged. She called for help, and they gently moved it outside. Living rock. Rocks are often seen as just, well, rocks. But there's a living creature out there that looks exactly like one. It doesn't move, but it's alive. This creature survives by pulling in water and filtering out tiny organisms to eat. Simple, but effective. When it's time to reproduce, it releases clouds of sperm and eggs into the water, creating little baby rocks. Pretty strange, right? In other news, technology keeps making our daily lives more interesting. Volkswagen teamed up with Google to make driving a game, and dentists can now get updates on your hygiene, including whether or not you floss. It's wild how technology is mixing with everyday activities. Trove of secrets. Old houses always come with stories, and this 140-year-old home was packed with them. It had wooden stairs, stained glass, and lots of charm, but the real surprises were hidden. While cleaning the top of a tall shelf, the new owner found a Civil War cane and a pocket watch. He later gave them back to the original owner's family. Then, one day, while walking in the attic, he stepped on a loose board. Underneath, near the fireplace, he saw 2 jars full of silver coins. Later, under another floorboard, he found a tiny bag holding a 1916 quarter and a dime from the 1890s. No dark secrets, just cool little treasures waiting to be found. Mysterious tunnels. Old pictures often hold secrets, and when going through some old photos of a 500-year-old family house, a strange detail stood out in one of the pictures. In the library, there seemed to be a doorway that no longer existed. Curious, the owner checked the spot and found the doorway completely covered by a bookcase. Moving the shelves revealed a narrow passage leading to a series of underground tunnels and secret rooms. Inside, there were old tools, dusty furniture, and even writings on the walls. The discovery turned out to be a huge part of the house's history, quietly waiting to be found beneath the floorboards. Strange objects. An 80-foot-long wooden and metal object showed up on Daytona Beach shores after storms hit Florida. Hurricanes Ian and Nicole caused major erosion, shifting the sand and revealing something strange underneath. The object sat half buried near the waterline, spotted by beachgoers and safety teams during high tide. Because the tide kept covering it, officials couldn't dig it out right away. People online started guessing. Was it a shipwreck? An old pier? Maybe something from the days when cars raced on the beach? Florida's beaches have seen all kinds of wild discoveries, from ancient ship parts to gold coins. And just like that, another story got added to the sand. Panama creature. On a beach in Australia, people found a strange creature that had washed up with the waves. Its head looked like a dog, but its body was long, with arms and legs that looked a bit like a person's. No one really knew what it was. It didn't look like a sea animal, and it didn't match anything people had seen before. Some even talked about old stories where dog-like creatures were said to live on Earth long ago. To me, it looked like a skinwalker. That's just my guess. But yeah, it was super weird. Alien creature. A strange-looking creature washed up on a beach along the southern east coast, and it had everyone doing double takes. It had a bright red, round head that looked unusually bold and almost unnatural. The head was lumpy, almost like a brain, and attached to a long, wrinkly stem that made it look even weirder. The shape was just off. The head stood out like a warning sign, and the rest of it looked like something stretched out and forgotten. Nobody really knew what it was, but people couldn't stop staring. Beach walks can turn into wild little adventures when the tide brings in something like that. Let's move towards our subscribers' pick of the day. Tunnels are already kind of scary, but this one felt even worse. A man was crawling inside, and he was coming straight toward the person filming. He looked like a person, but the way he moved didn't seem right. He crawled low and fast, like he had done it before. The tunnel was small, dirty, and old, but he didn't seem to care. Some doubt at the authenticity of the footage, while the majority has believed in the tunnel creep that was extremely strange.